Hello, everyone. We are getting ready to start the webinar. It starts at 7, but we are on a little bit early just to give people time to get settled, get in. Some people definitely might want to share the information out. So, as people are coming in and as we're waiting for that 7 o'clock mark, just let us know if you are tuned in, where you are tuning in from, and the name of your church. This is the church leader webinar. You definitely don't have to be a church leader to be on because this work definitely involves more than just church leaders, but um, that's definitely a good place for us to start with this work. How is you all's week gone, Tammy?
Oh, I'm exhausted and cannot wait to get in the bed. I have sleep deprivation. We hosted a sleepover this weekend for Abby's birthday. Is today. Happy birthday,
Oh,
Abby.
happy birthday, Abby.
Yes, and she's a big 7. She had a sleepover, weekend sleepover slumber party, and those little girls from I guess I'm guessing Jade is probably 5, 6 to 16, and some of them were up all hours of the night. And I'm used to getting a good night's rest. So I am so sleep deprived. Cannot wait to go to bed. But I knew this was important. So I pressed so that we could be here, as you said, to promote this work, but also to provide an opportunity to engage with faith leaders and community members. Because I was so glad you said it. We want folks to know that this is not just about leaders from churches, because churches are essential in the work, but we need people from all aspects of the community to make this work as it ought to, because we are a collective body of people working together toward the same goal.
Most definitely. And the work that we've done so far in the vein of generational work has definitely been well received. We've been told by the people that we've worked with that we need to make sure that this gets out farther to more people. So that's the reason why we have decided to host the webinar
Right.
and provide that information. So it won't be long. It's definitely going to be some quick information because we know that at 7 o'clock people are at home, they're settled, and sitting listening to us is not something that was probably on the list today. So we promise it is going to be very painless, and
Yes,
we will not keep anybody over our welcome this
that's right.
evening.
Absolutely. And we go on and give the disclaimer. We said this isn't just for faith leaders, but this is a faith conversation. So we are going to be talking faithfulness, and we want you to be prepared and hear that that is what this message is going to be about. So we want you to have your hearts ready to hear what we think at this point is our assignment that God has given to us. So looking forward to the conversation.
Most definitely. Shout out to Monica. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. She registered and is also making sure other people join us. So as you come on, just make sure that you share it out so that the information is spread widely and far. So we
Definitely.
appreciate everyone joining us. As you come on, just let us know where you're tuning in from. Dr. Monique Kirk is also with us. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, and we are going to get started. I'm going to
Yes.
do one more. Um, that's okay. So let's get this put up here. It's right at 7. So we want to be respectful of time. Thank you, ladies, for joining us for sure.
Yes. Thank y'all.
So, bridging the generational gap in the church. This is something that we are very passionate, very serious about. And we know that you're here because you have some interest in that as well. So, most of the people who we've seen on already are familiar with us. But for those who may watch it later and who may get the video, we do want to give some context and background as to who we are. So, we're known mostly from our weekly live stream that we have about 200 episodes for the Real Academy, where we're known as the Systems Doctors. I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston, and my counterpart here is Dr. Tammy Taylor. We have multiple things that we create besides the live stream in the form of professional development for schools, leaders. We coach. We also are best-selling authors and speakers, and we've done lots of work with schools from the in the vein of school leadership, but we're now getting into work also with churches, and we'll tell you where they actually came from.
Yes. And we also, in telling you who we are, we want to make sure you understand who we're not as well. And who we're not are salespeople. We're not theologians either, trying to create some type of new narrative. Sheikah has been an assistant principal before, and when you saw the advertisement, you saw how she said that over the course of time working with students, she would, of course, go into coach mode and want to make sure she steered these young people in the right direction. And she'd ask questions like, "What church do you go to?" And at a point in her early part of her career, kids would tell her, "Yes, I go to church, and this is the church that I go to." And the longer she was in that role, the more or less, I guess, that became the central theme of things. And you started to see that kids were falling off and, "No, I don't go to church." And sometimes those kids that are not being reared in a church atmosphere are the kids who we see the most. And you think about what it is you can do for an intervention, and honestly, it's a very difficult thing when you don't have access to children outside of a scenario where church and state are separate entities, and you're not allowed to proselytize in a school building. Now you pray, you're praying over them, and I'm praying in the seat before they come and sit down. But you are in a position where, as educators, we've seen the work that we do with young people and the number of children who are falling by the wayside. And that's a huge dilemma for us. And that dilemma has carried itself over into congregations. We're both women of faith who go to church and have been in churches. And what we see is that there are gaps in the church, generational gaps, and there are generations of people who are missing from the church because um, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we work through this evening. But we want to make sure you understand that we're not here to say that this is us with some new phenomenon, because we are saying to you tonight that we see the need, and because we see the need, we are not going to sit idly by and let that pass us by.
Most definitely. And shout out to David Bell from Benton Harbor, Michigan, and Lamont Ratchford from right here in Rock Hill. Thank you all for
You're
joining us.
welcome. Thanks, the bell.
So, what will you gain on this webinar? Definitely insight into studies on different generations, what their thoughts are on the church, a proposal that may help, and then how you can help. So, as Tammy said, we are not, theologians. We're not trying to teach you anything about the Bible. We're just trying to tell you from a research standpoint what we have noticed about the generations and what they are saying about being in church.
Most definitely. And tonight, we just want to go through quickly with you when we talk about the generations, who we're talking about. And we will get this is once we get into the weeds of the work, this becomes something that we work really, really intensely with you on. But we recognize and we want to just kind of go through which generations right now exist. And you have from the silent generation of folks who were born as early as the late 1920s to baby boomers, and then Generation X, and then we have the millennials. And after the millennials, you have Generation Z, and now we have Generation Alpha. And sometimes that silent generation looks at Generation Alpha like they're aliens because they don't even understand where they've come from. Like, what in the world has happened? But we, if you don't mind and you want to share with us, let us know who's here and just drop in the comment who you are and which generation you find yourself in tonight.
Most definitely. And shout out to Dr. Gallman. I saw she joined us as well. So there are two places that are having problems or some challenges meeting the needs of the younger generations, and we are in both of them. So we know them very well. Schools is the first place. We are definitely having challenges there, as you have seen from different media outlets and the church, and we're both in the church.
Yes.
So the Rayner research shows that 70% of youth active in youth groups. So this is our children who are in church. We have youth groups for them. They are projected to leave the church by the time they are 22 years old. 80% of those raised in church will be disengaged by the time they are 29 years old. So this is I have a daughter, two daughters, who's 10 and 13. We're talking about some of their generation and their age group.
Yeah, and what we are asking ourselves oftentimes is why? Like what is happening that our children are falling off? Like where are the kids that are interested in learning about what the Bible teaches us? And it's several things that we have to consider. Research shows that today young folks are looking for a very rich and intense, honest community where they can um, have that kind of honest exchange. And for them, the church does not provide that anymore. They want the kind of support that causes people to understand why, and only 5% of the church budget is going to the poor people. Like, they're looking for a cause. We want a cause for we're advocates for things, and we don't understand this. Why, if we're advocating and we want to protect people, why are we not giving more to the poor? Why are we not doing more for a mission? And those are valid and legitimate concerns that we'll talk to you about, allowing kids the opportunity to have dialogue around. And then many of them have said that they just want more in-depth Bible teaching, where they're finding that they're not getting the kind of substance that they're looking for from the word. And again, these are compatible things, because that's the kind of work that we're talking about doing, helping churches to understand how we can meet these needs that it seems these newer generations are looking for.
Most definitely. And when we look deeper into that why, so our research, what we found are digital natives, our TikTok generations, millennials use TikTok 46 at a rate of 46%. Our Gen Zers use TikTok at a rate of about 47%, and our Gen Alphas use it at a rate of about 85%. And what they use it for, to get their news, their entertainment. A lot of them are creators, but the biggest piece that Tammy's going to go over is about what they believe about what they're seeing in these places.
Yes, and what you'll notice is a lot of times when you watch TikTok videos, and most of us don't, what you see are lots of conspiratorial kinds of things, and there's a conspiracy theory behind everything, and newer generations subscribe to that, and if they see it online, that presents itself as fact, and this is absolutely true. Why do you think that? I think it's true because I saw it on TikTok and I know. But it can also be attributed to the fact that they have a major distrust of traditional institutions, including the church and media, which really is fueling this trend towards looking for your news and information on other media outlets and social media platforms. And TikTok just happens to be one of those.
Most definitely, and I am more on TikTok than Tam. I don't know
I,
think
I
Tammy
am
has
not
a
on TikTok at
TikTok account.
all.
I do have an account. So when we're talking about these examples of influence, this is a very quick one that I'm gonna play.
Jesus never existed. Jesus symbolizes the sun with his 12 disciples, the 12 zodiac signs, the 4 gospels for the 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. That's why they have suns on the back of their heads. That's why he's called the light of the world, our risen savior, the Son of God. It's Jesus walking on water, it's the sun. 7 days, 7 planets. Christians go to worship their God on Sunday because Jesus is the sun. Christians celebrate the Passover and eat lamb on April. This is because the sun has now passed the winter and hit Aries, which is the lamb. Now the sun is springing things back into life and bringing back the warmth. Why do you think you say amen at the end of every prayer? Amen is a sun god from Egypt. Judas stabs Jesus in the back and Jesus falls. J for Judas is the constellation Scorpio, and when the sun hits Scorpio, the sun becomes betrayed and has to fall to the winter solstice. So the sun gets betrayed by the J constellation. Scorpios are also backbiters, and Judas is a backstabber. On the 22nd of December, the sun stays the same degree for 3 days on the Southern Crux constellation, dies on a cross. Then on the 25th, it moves 1 degree northward, indicating it's bringing back the sun to the northern people, bringing back the warmth for the crops. So the sun is born a virgin on the 25th of December. The link is in the bio for this PDF.
So this is from something called the Book of Wisdom that they sell on multiple platforms, but basically it's reduced the story of Christ to being the sun god. And so when people hear things like this, it challenges their faith. And if they're not grounded or they don't have enough things to be able to challenge what they've heard, when we heard that statistic about them abandoning their faith between the ages of 18 to 29, it's because where do they live? On places like TikTok and, Reels and influencers. And this is what they're hearing, time after time after time, without maybe a platform to say, well, hey, who can I talk to this about, about this, or, what have you? How can I defend this? This next one I'm going to only show, and just tell us in the comments what you think about that last thing that you saw, or if you've seen anything like that before. And this next one, I'm only going to play a short clip of it. I'll sum it up when he finishes.
Why did the church change the meaning of fornication from a critique of a system of sexual exploitation to policing people's personal and consensual sexual choices. Like, how did Christianity go from critiquing sex trafficking and sexual exploitation to prohibiting premarital sex as a sign of somebody's holiness?
So basically, he goes on to challenge whether or not premarital sex is even a sin. So when people or youth, they're hearing different messages like this is coming from somebody who is in a pulpit. It's coming from creators, different, so many different messages from so many different places. And then if they're not in church, if they're going online, if their parents are going online, who are they even able to talk to about, well, I heard this. Where does it say that in the Bible? Where are they able to have this dialogue?
Yes, and what we are here tonight to say is we understand that there are all these things that kids are facing, and they hear these things and they see these things. I've seen, I don't have a TikTok account, but I've heard and seen my nieces and nephews with them open, and you even have them that get kids who are in church confused because it says something like, if you love Jesus, you will like and subscribe to this, whatever they're talking about. And it ends up being something that is totally not appropriate for young children. But what we know, and what we know, as church leaders, is that without holiness, no man is going to see God. And the standards of God have not changed. The Bible says in Hebrews 13:8 that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And what we have to be able to do is make sure that children have access to the word. So as Sheikah said, they're able to combat these things. When somebody tells you something, you can quickly decipher that, no, this goes against what I know about what God says. How do we fix these problems? For us, we believe that God has given us this platform for such a time as this. We're able to assist in this process because we have access to leaders in churches across this country, across the world. We have international folks who join us, and because we are able to have that type of platform, we're able to partner with churches to close these gaps that we're talking about tonight. And more importantly, not just close the gaps that the generations are experiencing on the outside of the church, but to close those gaps and get people motivated to come back into those spaces.
So this guide is definitely a part of that, bridging the generational divide. And what you will receive in partnership with working with us is that guide, but also access to a virtual community that we've created, because we feel like the guide is important, the work is important, but most importantly, we need to come back together to talk about doing the work together to make sure that we are working with one another through it, because this is a daunting task when we're talking about trying to get these generations back engaged the way that they need to be. So it starts with understanding the generations and their needs from the church, helping you to develop your generational unity ministry. It could already be an existing ministry in your church that group is tasked with this.
It will also include a biannual needs assessment surveys, and those will actually be provided for you with our support to administer, collect, and to analyze the data so that we're able to measure impact. We'll have access to all the generations in the church, because it allows you to know who you have there and to know exactly what's missing, and then know how to meet their needs spiritually, because that again is also something that's extremely important, because doing the work means that you have to have access to understanding what each of these generations need, and we're here to support you with that.
Most definitely. Shout out to Bernice Hughes and Carmen McClinton. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yes. Hey, everybody, let us know when you're coming in there.
Yes. And the next part is to make sure that there's a Generation Church exposure program. And from the school aspect, we know that this is important, and I'm going to give you an example. So when we know that children need exposure to things, if children are interested in going into Hollywood or being an actor or an actress, a lot of times those are the things that they would gravitate towards because that's what they see. They see actors and actresses on television. They know that there's television producers. But the reason that I knew exposure was important as a school leader in school, one thing I did not know until I went to a conference was that the people who make the sounds of movies, for example, if you see a horse in a movie and he's galloping across the screen and you're hearing that noise, I thought it was just some microphone picking up the sound, but it's actually something called a Foley artist that makes every sound in a movie, such as a horse galloping. So unless we expose children to things like Foley artists, they have no idea that that exists. Same thing with the church. When children come to church, who do they see? The pastor. They see the choir, people on the choir. They see the ushers. So sometimes they think, well, hey, that's it. That's all I can do in church. They don't know that there's a financial side to church. There's a tech side to church. There's a creative side to church. So making sure that we're exposing the youth to every aspect of the church that they can be involved in gives them exposure to say, well, hey, I'll probably be interested in more than just what I see. So exposure in the church is very important.
And it gives them another level of appreciation for the things that are happening in the church, because it takes us all working together. And yes, the pastor is the person that they are seeing in the pulpit. So he's or she's the person who is getting that first line of, oh, yes, I'm shipped into shape here. But we want them to understand and be able to appreciate the fact that, guess what? The reason that you get those graduation cards with your gift in it is because somebody administratively is helping this church to run. And so we just believe that having access to cross trainings, even to help the kids to follow in those important auxiliaries in the church is going to be very, very key. We also have something that will be included that is Youth Innovation Day and other activities that allow for you to allow youth-led Sundays where children, the youth are the ones who are responsible for the service, and not necessarily in the traditional aspect of the youth-led Sunday, where we just allow them to do the scripture that day or allow them to say the prayer that day and make the morning announcements. We're talking about hearing their voices, allowing them that space to talk with us as senior leaders in the church about what kinds of things are bothering you. What is it that you need from us? How can we help you? What can we do to support you? What are those things that are pressuring you at this time? Allowing them the space to do presentations to us about things that are generational, because that's one of the key aspects when Shika and I do this work with people in churches, we make that a very essential part of the messaging. You learn from one another. Each of our generations needs the other to survive.
Most definitely. And then there's 12 other activities like Adopt a Generation Mentor, Kingdom Collaboration Projects, Generation Faith Across Generation Bible Studies, Legacy Walks. So there's so many other things, but it's
Yeah,
ways to get the generations interacting with one another is the whole goal of this. We also give you an implementation plan and a church rollout plan where everything is kind of provided for you. There's really not a whole lot of things that you have to think out as far as what to do. It's more of how to do it and the strategies to get your people involved in your church and in
for
your
sure.
area.
And we know that there isn't a one size fits all. Like the work that we do is customizable, because what we need to do is take into account the needs of the folks that are in that particular space. But our guide also comes with a 12-month church calendar, and that year-long calendar is based on God's plan and purpose, not just a formality, but there are literally 12 months of things for you to really take note and launch in the actual process of things, so that we are able to make sure that the work that we're doing is impactful, because that again is what this is about, creating that level of impact that changes things.
Most definitely. And shout out to Reverend Di. Thank you for joining us. And my mom, Beverly Hall. And Ms. Hughes, we see you tagging people. Lamont, we see you tagging people. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, thank y'all very much. Hello, Pastor Di. Zion Pilgrim is my church, home church, y'all. So I'm saying hello to Pastor Di, who's a pastor at my church.
That's right. And so the last part of it, we talked about that community piece. So being able to come together once a month collaboratively to share our progress in the work, to share other ideas, because we are giving you a plan, but other things may come up. And as we talk to these generations, more ideas may come about that need to be shared as we continue to have the webinars to get more people involved, because we want this to become a movement, because that's just how important it is to us. We will have some of you come on to be given the testimonials about what you're seeing happening in your church. Are the youth being more engaged? Are the generations interacting more? Are things starting to become transformed? Because that's our hope with the goal of this work. So we definitely want you to be a part of that collaboration piece. The Generation Church Chase is a workshop that we facilitate and we have done with a few churches that have really just given us phenomenal feedback on this. They really enjoyed it. They were able to come together to celebrate one another. They came together to work together to learn about the generations through this interactive game that we call Generation Chase. So it's a mission. They take pictures, they work through the challenges together, but it's all a intergenerational activity. And then at the end, they're able to celebrate one another as well. So it went really well. Survey results were great feedback. 100% of people felt like they learned what they needed to learn about the generations and what they need from the church. They 100% wanted to bring more generational activities to their church. And also, there was one gentleman, he was an African American male, and a lot of times they stand out because sometimes it's not that many. Wanted us to know, and he spoke out verbally that this was something that was very inspiring to him, and he definitely wanted to see it grow. So that inspired us.
Definitely. One of the things too, I think that is important to note about the Generation Chase again is this work is centered around unity and coming together. And I promise you, you cannot complete the chase without having generations come together because you want your team to win. And so you have to rely on the strengths of the folks that are on that team. Now, why do we think this is important? The Bible tells us that one generation shall commend your works to another and should declare your mighty acts. That's in Psalms 145:4. We know that we are going to learn from one another. We have the responsibility, those older generations, they are obligated to teach the younger generations. That's the word. We are to impart what we know to those that are coming behind us. And the Bible also says that in the last days, it's going to be where God declares that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And that's Acts 2:17. And what God is saying to us is we need all of you, young men, old men, young women, older women. We need you. And so there's a space for all of us to occupy.
Most definitely. And the younger generation should also teach. The younger generation has a responsibility to learn from and appreciate their older generations, but they should also teach. And from an educational standpoint, we know that the highest form of learning occurs when the learner becomes the teacher. So when we describe those activities where we would hear from the youth, hear about their challenges, give them that voice, we want to learn from them. It shouldn't just be that, oh, we are the end all, know all, and the only thing that a child can do is just learn from us because we can't serve them if we don't hear from them or learn from them what their experiences are because they are so much different than ours. So it allows us to hear their perspective, their stories, and their testimonies.
And I think that it's important, Shika, for us to know that in one of the trainings, there was a young lady who, would you say she's 7?
Mm-hmm. 7.
Who was able to articulate, because these are the children that we're dealing with. The children in Generation Alpha want to talk. They want to talk to you about what they think, and they have an opinion, believe it or not. I shared before, I have a 7-year-old now niece who calls family meetings and wants to talk for hours. This is what little children are doing. And so what we have to do is we have to channel that so that they understand how to use that voice to help with what we're talking about today and making sure that the word remains the word because it doesn't change.
Most definitely. Dr. Onay Chapman, shout out to you, sir. And sir, I did tell you, you must have forgot. You were supposed to tell some people on here
Oh,
not
nay.
telling the truth. No, I'm just joking. Thank you for joining us. And then we definitely need your help. So when we heard that statistic earlier about between the ages of 18 and 29, those generations are projected to abandon their faith because of the things that they're seeing on TikTok, because of the other voices, all of the other things that they're hearing from media, from friends, from people going to college and hearing other things that challenges their faith, just from life in itself being a challenge to their faith. These are my daughters. Isabella is my youngest daughter. She's on the left side here, and on my right is my oldest daughter, Elizabeth. There, Isabella and Abby is Tammy's niece here with the soccer ball. They are both Gen Alphas, and they have all of the questions in the world, and all of the ideas
Opinion.
and opinions. Yes, and that fits with their generation.
Yeah.
My oldest baby, Lizzie, is Gen Z, but to hear that between the ages of 18 and 29, the possibility of them abandoning their faith is disheartening. So that's not something that we want for our children. It's not something that we want for our babies that we are in charge of in schools, your children. Kingdom work is something that, as women of faith, is very important to us. And so we need your help in making sure that this work goes forward. We have the guide, we have the idea, we have the space for the collaboration, but without places to put this into practice, without people who are willing to come together once a month to talk about this, talk about the challenges, talk about how it's going, try to help join the movement to spread the word, then it's just an idea. And we need for the idea to become a reality. We need for it to become real kingdom work.
Definitely. And what we want to make sure is happening in these spaces is that this work is not artificial. This is very authentic work. And that's why it centers around what is needed in your respective spaces. We're here to support with the research that we've done and the things that we've seen that are very impactful when you're bringing generations together. But that support that we're providing is coming from a place of, again, wanting to be a part of something that keeps us from losing more children. And I'm not just talking about losing them. We hear lots about losing them to the streets. We're also talking about losing. We have children who are leaving this earth and we don't know which direction they're headed. We cannot bear to see that kids are being completely left out of this kind of discussion that can change not just the trajectory of their lives here, but can change where they spend eternity.
Most definitely. And so to be a part of this work, we have calculated that two people being a part of the collaboration from each church that becomes involved. We would host the space on our platform. And these some of these things do cost money as far as hosting of the platform. When we broke it down, it equated to about $16.20 per person per church per month, which basically is really a very nominal, small contribution. And we accept donations because, like we said, this is about kingdom work. It's definitely not something that we're trying to get rich off of, but we definitely want to be able to host the platform. So if you are interested, I have put the email address up, and it's on all of the platforms. If you would email us to get the contact information about becoming a part of the work, we will get you the information to join so that you can become a part of the monthly collaboration that is joining forces in this work. And we really want to hear, your thoughts. You can type them in the comments. If you join by way of the webinar, I could actually send you a link to come join us on the stage if any of you are willing to come on. I know Lamont probably is always willing to talk, and Dr. Onay. But if anybody would like to come on, if you join by way of the webinar, I can send you a link to come on with us now. But if not, just put in the comments what you think about the work. Is this something that you think you would want to institute in your area? Did we completely miss the mark? Look, y'all can go on back to the live stream. Don't worry about this. Y'all done missed it. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Or if you have any questions, let us know what your questions are so that we can make sure that we're answering those and using our time wisely.
Most definitely. And I see a comment from Pastor Dada. Church adults need to know that the Youth Day and Vacation Bible School is not just for youth only. Their presence is necessary. Most definitely.
Mhm.
And it's is needed in an interactive way as well. Miss Hughes is saying she would definitely introduce in her area. We appreciate you, Miss Hughes. Thank you for joining us, for spreading the word, for your feedback. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions? And we appreciate you all for joining us. So we will continue to host the webinars, help us spread the word. Miss Carmen McClinton, thank you. She said it sounds good to her as well. She's one of our sisters that I'm sure is going to be joining us in the work as well. Because as it grows, we will need more help hosting the collaborations and making sure that people are understanding the best ways to institute this and to activate the youth. It's going to take contributions from us all. We have that research educator lens, the information about the generations, but you all definitely have that piece about making sure they're exposed to the different pieces of the church that we may not even be aware of. So it's definitely community work. So we're not going to
Hey, Lamar, you don't want to come and say something?
thank you, Lamont. Great conversation. And my mom says she would definitely help. We
Hey,
appreciate the
Miss
village.
Stephanie.
Keep up the great work. Thank you. We appreciate you all. So we will end the live stream, but again, we will keep hosting these to get the word out. Make sure you send us an email if you are interested for your area or for your church, and we will definitely get that information to you to join and help us spread the word. And some of you did that already too tonight. So thank you so much. We appreciate each and
Yes,
every one of you. We
we
don't take it
certainly do.
lightly. Thank you.